In the early 20th century, New Orleans was plagued by a series of gruesome murders that left the city in terror. The killer, known as the Axeman, was never caught, and his reign of terror is still remembered as one of the most frightening episodes in the city's history. It all began in May 1918. The first victim, Joseph Maggio, was found brutally murdered in his home. He and his wife were attacked with an axe, their throats slashed, and the weapon was left at the scene. The police were baffled, and the case grew cold. The Axeman's next target was a few months later. The husband and wife were again attacked in their bed. The killer left the axe behind, just as he had before, and again no leads emerged. The killer seemed to strike without warning and vanish without a trace. As the murders continued, the Axeman's terror spread through New Orleans. The killer seemed to operate with a strange, almost ritualistic precision. It wasn't just the brutal killings that terrified people, but the cryptic letters he sent to local newspapers. In one infamous letter dated March 13, 1919, the Axeman claimed to be a demon from hell and declared that he would kill again on the night of March 19th. However, he offered a chilling twist. He would spare anyone who played jazz music on that night. New Orleans was a city with a thriving jazz scene, and the night of March 19th saw bands playing on every corner, their notes wafting through the air, mingling with the fear and anticipation. Despite the widespread efforts to protect themselves, the Axeman did not strike on March 19th, and the letter was taken by some as a twisted game rather than a genuine threat. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the Axeman's absence only heightened the mystery. After this bizarre ultimatum, the killings eventually stopped. The Axeman disappeared as suddenly as he had arrived, leaving the city haunted by his deeds. Numerous theories emerged over the years, but the true identity of the Axeman remains unknown. Some believe he was a deranged individual who simply vanished, while others think he might have been part of a secret society or involved in something far more sinister. To this day, the story of the Axeman of New Orleans remains a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most mundane facades. The unanswered questions and the fear he instilled linger in the city's collective memory, a ghostly reminder of a time when terror walked among them. In the years following the last known murder attributed to the Axeman, New Orleans struggled to move on from the fear that had gripped it. But even as the city tried to heal, strange occurrences began to stir the pot of unease once again. In the late 1920s, rumors began circulating about a hidden room discovered in a dilapidated mansion on the outskirts of New Orleans. The mansion had been abandoned for years, a relic of the grandeur that once was. When a local historian, eager to uncover more about the city's dark past, decided to explore it, she stumbled upon a peculiar and unsettling find. The room was concealed behind a false wall in the basement. Inside, the historian found a collection of old photographs, newspaper clippings, and, most unsettlingly, a blood-stained axe. The items were meticulously arranged, suggesting the work of someone obsessed with preserving their macabre legacy. Among the clippings were various articles about the Axeman's crimes, but what made them especially eerie were the handwritten notes in the margins, written in a hurried, scrawling hand. The notes spoke of a conspiracy, hinting at the involvement of influential figures in the city. They alluded to a secret society that manipulated events behind the scenes, controlling the Axeman's actions to cover up their own dark deeds. The historian was unnerved but determined to learn more, setting out to investigate the claims further. As she delved deeper, she began to receive anonymous threats. Her phone calls were filled with static and cryptic messages. A shadowy figure seemed to follow her whenever she ventured into the city's older, more dilapidated parts. Despite the increasing danger, she pressed on, uncovering a series of disturbing coincidences. Her investigation led her to a series of old, hidden documents that detailed strange rituals and codes believed to be connected to the secret society. According to these documents, the Axeman's killings were not random but part of a ritualistic plan designed to create fear and manipulate public perception. The society's aim was to distract and control the city's elite, ensuring that their more sinister activities remained hidden. One evening, while going through some of the society's coded messages, the historian noticed something chilling. The patterns in the codes matched a recurring symbol found at various crime scenes, the same symbol that appeared in some of the old photographs from the hidden room. The realization hit her hard. The Axeman's reign of terror might have been just one part of a larger, more complex conspiracy. Feeling the weight of her discoveries, she reached out to local authorities. But the response she received was dismissive, and she began to suspect that some within the force were connected to the very society she was uncovering. Fearing for her safety, she decided to go public with her findings. The story exploded in the media, reigniting interest in the Axeman case. The city was once again gripped by fear, but this time, it was compounded by a sense of paranoia and distrust. The historian's revelations led to a series of investigations and, eventually, several arrests of suspected members of the secret society. Yet, the full truth about the Axeman and the extent of the society's influence remained elusive. As the historian continued her work, she discovered that her own safety was increasingly at risk. Strange incidents, such as mysterious phone calls and even an attempted break-in at her home, made her realize that the shadows of the Axeman were still very much alive. Her life became a constant battle against unseen forces determined to keep their dark secrets buried. The Axeman of New Orleans remained an enigma, his motives and methods shrouded in layers of conspiracy and fear. Even as the historian's revelations shed light on some aspects of the mystery, they also deepened the intrigue, leaving the city and its people with a lingering sense of unease. The true extent of the Axeman's legacy, whether a mere individual or a tool of a broader sinister network, remains a haunting enigma, forever entwined with the dark history of New Orleans. As the years went by, the historian's revelations about the Axeman and the secret society became part of New Orleans' dark folklore. Though many were skeptical, a few believed that the truth lay hidden in the heart of the city's most enigmatic corners. One evening, a young journalist named Emily, fascinated by the historian's findings, decided to dig deeper into the case. She was drawn to a peculiar item she had read about, a cursed manuscript, rumored to be an ancient text connected to the Axeman's murders. The manuscript was said to have been lost to time but was rumored to be linked to the secret society's dark rituals. Emily's search led her to a local antique bookstore run by an elderly man named Mr. Beauvais, known for his collection of rare and occult items. When she inquired about the manuscript, Mr. Beauvais seemed unnerved but reluctantly pointed her toward a dusty corner of the store. There, in an unassuming box, she found an old, leather-bound book with faded symbols on the cover. It was the manuscript. The book was filled with cryptic texts, strange symbols, and dark illustrations. Emily could barely decipher its contents, but one passage stood out. A description of a ritual involving an ancient artifact believed to grant immense power to those who performed it. According to the manuscript, this artifact was the key to controlling the spirits of the dead and harnessing their energy. Intrigued and disturbed, Emily decided to investigate further. Her research led her to an old, abandoned church on the outskirts of New Orleans, rumored to be a site for occult gatherings. The church had been shut down for decades, its doors sealed and its windows boarded up, but Emily managed to find a way in. Inside, the church was eerily preserved, as if frozen in time. Dust-covered pews and crumbling altar were shrouded in shadows. Emily's flashlight flickered over faded murals depicting bizarre rituals and symbols from the manuscript. She could feel the oppressive weight of the place, as if the very walls were whispering secrets. As she explored, Emily discovered a hidden chamber beneath the altar. The chamber contained strange artifacts, including an ornate dagger and an obsidian idol. Among these relics was a dusty chest. Emily opened it to find a collection of old photographs and a detailed diary belonging to one of the society's leaders. The diary described dark ceremonies and named a powerful figure, an influential member of New Orleans high society, who was rumored to have orchestrated the Axeman's reign of terror. Before Emily could fully absorb the gravity of her find, she felt a chill in the air, and the atmosphere grew heavier. The diary mentioned that the artifacts were used to summon spirits and manipulate them. Suddenly, she heard the distinct sound of footsteps echoing through the church. Heart pounding, she turned off her flashlight and listened. The footsteps grew louder, and the soft murmur of voices filled the space. Emily couldn't see anyone but felt an overwhelming presence. She realized she might not be alone and that the church had not been as abandoned as she thought. She quickly gathered the diary and photographs, making her way back to the entrance. As she left, Emily noticed a shadowy figure watching her from a distance. The figure vanished as she approached, leaving her with an unsettling feeling. The discovery of the artifacts and diary added layers to the mystery, but it also made Emily realize that the deeper she dug, the more dangerous her investigation became. Determined to expose the truth, Emily went public with her findings, revealing the connection between the artifacts and the Axeman's terror. The revelations stirred up a storm in the media, leading to a new wave of interest in the case. However, as the public's curiosity grew, so did the attempts to silence her. Emily received anonymous threats and encountered unsettling occurrences. Shadows seemed to follow her, and she often felt as if she were being watched. Her research revealed that the secret society's influence was deeply entrenched in the city's elite, and the more she uncovered, the more resistance she faced. Despite the danger, Emily continued her quest, driven by the need to unravel the full extent of the Axeman's legacy. As she delved further, she began to question whether the secret society was still active and if its members were still wielding power in the shadows. The manuscript had opened a Pandora's box, revealing that the Axeman was merely a piece of a much larger, darker puzzle. Emily's investigation became a race against time, as she sought to bring to light the full story of the Axeman and the society that may still be manipulating the city from behind the scenes. The eerie echoes of the past continued to haunt her, and the line between reality and the supernatural blurred as she uncovered a sinister truth that had been buried for nearly a century. The curse of the manuscript seemed to intertwine with Emily's fate, casting a shadow over her every step. And as the chilling legacy of the Axeman lingered, New Orleans remained a city forever haunted by the ghosts of its dark history. Emily's discovery of the cursed manuscript and the occult artifacts ignited a renewed wave of fear and fascination in New Orleans. Despite the dangers, her commitment to exposing the full extent of the Axeman's legacy remained unwavering. As she continued her investigation, she stumbled upon something that would push her into even deeper shadows. One evening, while poring over the diary and photographs she had found in the abandoned church, Emily discovered a cryptic reference to a secretive annual event known as the Midnight Revel. The diary hinted that this event was where the society's most significant rituals took place and where the most powerful members gathered. The date of the next Midnight Revel was approaching, and Emily realized this could be her chance to uncover the truth. Determined to attend, Emily used her journalistic skills to infiltrate the event. Through meticulous research and connections with insiders, she managed to secure an invitation under a false identity. The location of the revel was a closely guarded secret, known only to those within the society. Emily was given an address to a mansion on the edge of town, a place that was as enigmatic as the event itself. The night of the revel arrived. Emily, dressed in an elaborate mask and gown, arrived at the mansion, a grand, decrepit estate shrouded in darkness and secrecy. The mansion was illuminated by flickering torches, casting eerie shadows across the facade. A sense of foreboding hung in the air, and Emily could feel her heart racing as she entered. Inside, the mansion was a labyrinth of opulent but decaying rooms, filled with masked figures in elaborate costumes. The guests mingled and whispered behind their masks, their conversations laced with an air of conspiracy. Emily navigated through the crowd, her senses on high alert as she searched for clues about the society's true intentions. In one of the grand hallways, Emily overheard a conversation between two masked individuals. They spoke in hushed tones about an artifact that was central to their power, the same artifact she had found in the hidden chamber beneath the old church. The conversation revealed that the artifact was set to be used in a ritual that night, a ritual that could potentially awaken a force of unimaginable darkness. Emily followed the conversation's trail, leading her to a hidden room behind a false wall. Inside, she found a ceremonial chamber adorned with occult symbols and lit by candlelight. At the center of the room was an altar where the artifact was displayed, surrounded by a circle of masked figures. As the ritual commenced, Emily witnessed a chilling scene. The members of the society chanted in an ancient language, their voices rising and falling in eerie unison. The artifact was placed on the altar, and the ceremony's intensity grew as the participants invoked a series of dark rites. Emily watched in horror as the air seemed to thicken and warp, and shadows danced menacingly around the room. Suddenly, one of the masked figures, revealed by a slip of the mask, caught Emily's eye. It was a prominent figure in New Orleans high society, someone whose name had appeared repeatedly in her research. Realizing the gravity of her discovery, Emily took out her camera and snapped photographs of the ritual and the participants. But just as she was about to leave, she was caught by one of the society members. Emily was confronted and escorted to a private room, where she faced a chilling realization. She was trapped and alone. The figure who had caught her was none other than the leader of the secret society, the man mentioned in the diary. He revealed that the society had long operated in the shadows, manipulating events and maintaining their power through fear and dark rituals. The leader explained that the society's true goal was to harness supernatural forces to maintain control over the city and beyond. The Axeman had been a pawn in their game, used to distract and manipulate the public. The artifact was a key element in their plans, and the society was preparing for a grand ritual to consolidate their power further. As Emily struggled to escape, she realized she had only one chance. She managed to use her camera as a distraction, causing a commotion that allowed her to slip away from her captor. She fled through the mansion's darkened corridors, evading the society's members who were now in a state of alarm. Emerging into the night, Emily made her way back to her apartment, shaken but determined. The photographs she had taken were a crucial piece of evidence, but she knew she had to act quickly. She contacted trusted journalists and authorities, risking her safety to expose the society's dark rituals and their influence over the city. The story she uncovered shocked New Orleans. The media frenzy and public outcry forced investigations into the secret society's activities. High-profile arrests followed, and the city was forced to confront the shadows that had lurked within its elite circles. Emily's investigation had peeled back the layers of darkness, revealing a hidden world of power and corruption. Yet the shadows still lingered. Though many of the society's members were exposed, whispers of their continued influence remained. Emily knew that the battle against such deep-rooted malevolence was far from over. Her journey had transformed from a quest for truth into a relentless fight against the darkness that seemed to permeate every corner of New Orleans. As she looked out over the city, Emily could feel the weight of the secrets she had uncovered. The city had changed, but so had she. The echoes of the Axeman's terror and the society's dark rituals would haunt New Orleans for years to come, a constant reminder that some shadows run deep and never fully fade away. With the secret society's rituals and influence exposed, Emily felt a fleeting sense of victory. However, the relief was short-lived. As the city's attention shifted to the scandal, Emily began receiving ominous messages and warnings, indicating that the society was not done with her yet. One night, while reviewing the evidence she had gathered, Emily received an anonymous letter slipped under her door. The letter contained a single sentence: "The past is never truly buried." Attached was a map marked with a location, a derelict building on the edge of town, the site of one of the society's earlier gatherings. The message was clear. The society was challenging her to a final confrontation. With trepidation and resolve, Emily decided to investigate. She arrived at the old building, a decrepit warehouse that had long been abandoned. The structure seemed to have a menacing presence, its broken windows and crumbling facade hiding secrets of its own. Inside, Emily found a labyrinth of dark, musty rooms. The air was thick with dust and an eerie stillness. She followed the map's instructions, leading her to a large underground chamber. As she descended into the darkness, the temperature dropped, and she could sense a palpable, oppressive energy. In the chamber, Emily discovered a series of old, elaborate symbols carved into the floor and walls. At the center of the room was an altar similar to the one she had seen during the midnight revel. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of anticipation, as if the room itself were holding its breath. Suddenly, the lights flickered on, and Emily found herself surrounded by figures in dark robes. The leader of the secret society, whose face was now partially visible, stood at the altar. He welcomed her with a chilling calm, acknowledging her bravery and her role in uncovering their secrets. "The time has come," he said, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "You have meddled in forces you cannot understand, and now you must face the consequences." Emily, feeling a mix of fear and defiance, demanded to know what the society intended. The leader revealed that their goal was to perform one final, grand ritual to solidify their control over supernatural forces and establish their dominance for generations to come. The artifact, which had been central to their rituals, was believed to have the power to summon an ancient, malevolent entity, one that could grant them unimaginable power. As the ritual began, the room was filled with chanting and the flickering of candles. Emily realized that the society was close to achieving their dark goal. Desperate to stop them, she searched for a way to disrupt the ceremony. Her eyes fell on a series of ancient texts lying on a nearby table. Among them was a passage she recognized from the manuscript, describing a counter-ritual that could nullify the powers being summoned. With a sense of urgency, Emily grabbed the texts and began to read the counter-ritual aloud. Her voice trembled as she recited the incantations, hoping to disrupt the society's plans. The leader and his followers were initially stunned but quickly moved to silence her. The chamber's atmosphere grew chaotic as the forces being summoned resisted the counter-ritual. The ground shook, and an unnatural wind howled through the room. The figures in robes seemed to be losing control, their expressions a mix of anger and fear. Just as it seemed the situation was spiraling out of control, the power of the counter-ritual took hold. The summoning energies began to dissipate, and the oppressive presence in the room faded. The leader, realizing their plan was thwarted, ordered his followers to flee. In the ensuing confusion, Emily managed to escape the chamber. Outside, the warehouse was illuminated by the first light of dawn. The city, still recovering from the revelations of the secret society, now had to confront the aftermath of the failed ritual. Emily, though exhausted and shaken, felt a profound sense of relief. The immediate threat had been neutralized, and the society's grand plan had been foiled. In the days that followed, the authorities launched a crackdown on the remnants of the society, and their influence began to wane. Emily's courage and determination had brought to light the darkest corners of the city's history and disrupted the society's sinister goals. Yet, as she walked through the city she had fought so hard to protect, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows of the past might still linger. The ancient forces and hidden conspiracies had been pushed back, but their echoes might never fully disappear. The Axeman's legacy and the society's dark rituals had been part of a deeper, more complex narrative than anyone could have imagined. Emily knew that while she had made significant strides, the battle against darkness, both supernatural and human, was ongoing. The city's history was a tangled web of secrets, and its shadows were as enduring as they were mysterious. As Emily looked out over New Orleans, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The quest for truth and justice was far from over, but for now, she had turned the tide against the forces of darkness. The city was a place of shadows and light, and she was prepared to face whatever came next.